DreamHack Open is brought to you by Astro, Monster Energy, Corsair, Hacks, and GGBet.
One more match, one more DreamHack Summer Grand Final. That's right, we're still here live coming to you from Jönköping, Sweden, and we have our final two teams looking to raise that trophy on stage above their heads and take home the lion's share of $100,000. Interestingly enough, it's our two teams that won their first two best of ones, directly putting them through to the semi-finals on day one, Imperial and Gambit. A big shout out to our sponsors for making all of this possible: Astro, Corsair, Monster Energy, and Hacks. My name is Parla, and I am your desk host, and I'm joined by Jacob Pimp Vinegar and Dust Moret. I'm extremely excited to be here and see how this plays out.
We can hear that, pal, and I'm with you. I'm extremely excited too. I think we have the two best teams at the tournament. Obviously, it's a final, so you would expect the two best teams to go through. That's not always how it plays out, but I would say we've seen the best from Imperial. We've seen the best from OpTic now, and we're gonna go watch a match of them. Going up against each other.
Yeah, definitely the most skilled players of this tournament are coming together, right? You have Config, who's been absolute monster. Same with Yugi. Both of those two have performed as you would have expected. And then over on the Imperial side, it's really been, you know, Esperanto and Nuka, the two Lithuanian players have been fantastic. And taking a look here at how both these teams got here, OpTic had to go through North in the Danish Derby, which was really fun to watch. And then Imperial just keeps impressing us every single match they go up. Every time we think, oh, surely this is where it all ends, they just keep going. It's been a crazy dark horse story for this team.
Indeed, that OpTic North Danish Derby earlier today was hard fought. It went all three maps, and Imperial bested Gambit to get here into the finals. Earlier in the tournament, which team would you say was firing off at a higher level of pressure? Because both of them had great starts to the tournament, as we have already mentioned.
I mean, it's tough to judge Imperial yet. I would say they won two best of one series. Those are tough to judge, I would say. And then they won against Gambit now quite convincingly. That was where I really started to believe in them. You know, I believe they can make a great final for this one. I also do believe that OpTic have had the hardest road in the way of they had to go up against North here today. I think the match we saw on the first one today, North were playing up to a fairly high level, and OpTic was playing great as well. So they had to fire on all cylinders in order to get into the final, where I feel Imperial, they maybe been not slacking, but they haven't really shown the full potential yet. So I have higher hopes for this final. I think both teams can elevate each other, so we can see some great Counter-Strike.
Dust, do you also agree? Because it's something that I identified as well. Like Imperial, we saw them at the start of the tournament as underdogs, and we wanted to see them prove themselves. Those first two best of ones were great, but going against Gambit in a best of three, even considering they have a new player in the form of Mer, it was amazing to see how Imperial dealt with them.
Yeah, I mean, I think Imperial had the harder best of ones. Like, they had to play against AGO and North, whereas, you know, OpTic got to play against, like, a struggling Gambit and Complexity. But I think when it came to the best of three semifinals, yeah, OpTic had the harder route, having to go up against a North team that was finding their form throughout the tournament. But here's the thing about Imperial. Like, no matter what happens in this grand finals, we must make the note that the journey they have taken already is really impressive, considering the fact that coming into this event, they were really struggling to even qualify for LANs. Like, this is the only LAN they really qualified for lately since Copenhagen games. So it's incredible that they're even at this point. And it's fantastic to watch talents like Esperanto deliver in an offline environment like this.
We should start to talk about the veto and the maps that we might see coming up. Both of these teams kind of have their favorites. Maybe OpTic are going to look to secure Nuke. What about Imperial?
It's a good question. I think we've seen them play very well now on Cash as well. That was quite a surprise for me that they were so dominant against Gambit.
I mean, they did it through the veto against Gambit, who've picked that twice at this tournament, right?
Exactly. OpTic is not going to allow Cash.
No, definitely not.
They're not going to allow Cash, so that's going to be ruled out of it. But it's interesting to see that Imperial is able to perform on so many different maps, which again gives me high hope in this matchup that they actually have a chance. Dust, you can maybe allude to what you exactly think.
Imperial's definitely going to ban Nuke, and OpTic's definitely going to ban Cash. And I think both teams are happy playing Mirage, so I think that we're definitely going to see one of the two teams teams take out Mirage.
Yeah, it's correct what I said. Gambit picked Cash just once in that last best of 3 we saw. And to me, that was slightly surprising. And I think it can shed some light on this veto. And yeah, OpTic come out straight away with a Cash ban. They don't want to play Imperial on it. Maybe factoring what we just saw against Gambit.
It's their permaban, you know.
Indeed.
They just stay away from it. OpTic going with Overpass. That's a great pick for OpTic. This is the first time. Is this the first time we're going to see Overpass at this tournament?
Potentially, I don't recall.
No, me neither. Anyway, it's going to be a great matchup. OpTic are in general, Danish teams are just known for being very great on Overpass. Snappy, the in-game leader for OpTic, have been doing well as well on Overpass as an in-game leader. Mirage, we saw Imperial play very well today, and we've also seen OpTic play it very well against North. So it's going to be a great matchup. Inferno being the decider, we talked about it already today. It's always that middle ground for all teams. It's a map that is incredibly hard to stand out on, you know, so all teams are fairly decent and fairly equal on Inferno. So it gives us, you know, we often talk about the map pool, what does it lean towards, did anyone win it? I think this is a fair 1-1, and then we're probably going to end up in Inferno as a decider.
Let me cut you guys off there, Jacob and Dust. It's time to get this grand final underway properly, and we can only start that by welcoming the teams to the stage and also hearing a bit from the guys themselves. Put your hands together for Gambit, apologies, OpTic and Imperial.
Smoke starting to fade. They're going to jump right in. Gate already able to stop 1, 2, and 3 kills per game. Makes it 4 as well.
Yeah, it was an intense match, really. That was a lot on the line, so I'm happy we came out on top.
Then against Esperanto, taking him out of the equation. Nukia comes out of left field, though, to move in, and goes right back to connector for another. Oh my god, and then he finds Mir. Oh my god, and then gets Hobbit too.
Me and my team feel really confident coming into the final because we were doing really good in our past matches in this LAN. Of course, I think we're gonna win because we're destroying everybody right now. This is my first real final at a tier 1-2 event, so I would say that this is yeah, I'm really happy about this result.
Final words there from Gabe, the North Academy graduate into OpTic. But now let's take a look at Imperial. As we have established, Esperanto is on a tear at the moment. Nexa and Nukia also young guns to look out for. Tensky is that role player, someone that you can rely on to do the dirty work, and they're led by the very experienced Crystal.
You just gotta tip your hat for what Imperial have been doing throughout this event so far. As said, they came into this tournament as being the big underdogs. They managed to go out straight to the semifinals by winning both of the best of ones, and now they're here in the final after with rather ease take down Gambit. You know, it's just been an all-around great show for these guys. The big guy on the screen right here, or the small guy on the screen right here, who's playing up big time is Esperanto.
Big on the server.
Big on the server. Let's put that a little bit smaller in real life. That's fine. You know, it's Counter-Strike. It's all being put on the server. He's been showing up and he's been playing out of his mind. This is a guy that we prescribed him as being one of the biggest talents in the world. I would say he's definitely a top 5 talent in Europe. There's also a guy that has been around now for some time in the background. You know, been playing some FPL, been playing some FaZe, and now he's finally getting a shot here in Imperial together with these guys of actually making a result that is not only going to have an impactful thing on themselves, but also going to have an impact on the entire Counter-Strike world and the perception of this team. So Imperial is right now standing in front of their biggest game of their careers, and Esperanto is here to play the biggest career game, the biggest game of his career as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to note that he's not been alone. I think Nexa has been fantastic throughout this tournament as well, which is great because I feel like I didn't rate him that highly. When he was on Renegades, I felt like I was mostly disappointed by his performances on that team, but he's been fantastic for this team throughout this tournament. And again, this team, it's just great to see them here. I think the pressure's off at this point. They've already exceeded their expectations. We've heard that from their own mouths in interviews that they didn't even really know if they would, you know, make it past the semifinals, and now that they're here in the grand final. And it's just great to see them step up and deliver because, again, since Copenhagen Games, they really haven't done a whole lot. I mean, they don't really play in any of the big leagues. They weren't able to qualify for ECS. They play like an ESEA Advanced, like they're not in the Pro League. And there's just so many events they were unable to qualify for. You know, didn't qualify for Valencia or Austin, for example, if you look at the Open Tour. Yet here, somehow, they've put everything together properly to find themselves up against OpTic for the trophy.
Let's move on over to the other side of the stage now. and focus on OpTic. These guys earlier today had to come on top of the rivalry between them and North, who are seen as the second best team in Denmark. Maybe now OpTic are. Pimp, you are the resident Dane. What would you like to start off by addressing?
Take a look at these names, boys. Take a great look. This is KGB, Juki, Snappy, Config, and Gate. Besides Gate, I would say those 4 players are fairly well known for being high-tier players. You know, these are players that could play on any teams within Denmark and could be potential on any top 10 team in the entire world. Especially Config and Yuki. Those are 2 of the biggest talents in the entire world. If we talk about Esperanto being a big talent, he's currently in a period where he's being tested. You know, we'll see whether he's viable or not. Whereas Config and Yuki, they've already been tested. They've already shown that they're some of the best players in the entire world. This is a team that was built off the backs of Cajun and Config being kicked from North. They were no longer being in that team, you know, no longer being found good enough or well playing enough for North. And now they're in here in OpTic, built around their own Danish team. And as said, this is a team that is built to be the second best Danish team, a team that is built to be a force to be reckoned with within this international scene. Not a team that is being built, you know, by talents like Imperial. It's more like this is serious business. This is OpTic paying big bucks, putting around this team, paying a lot of dollars for Snappy as well from Heroic. This is supposed to be working out. This is a team that is supposed to win titles. And again, in their first final, it'll be a big disappointment if they don't power.
I think we're going to see quite the tactical difference when it comes to Snappy and Crystal. Speaking to Crystal just, what, an hour ago, he said, whilst he is leading and controlling the team, giving the calls, that they do play a momentum style, a momentum-based style, and a bit of a looser style of Counter-Strike. He kind of tries to keep those younger, more explosive players under wraps, but give them that space. On the other hand, we have Snappy, who has a more regimented, maybe not necessarily MSL levels of pure sort of structure, but he is differing in that sense to Crystal in the way he approaches the game, perhaps. Now on screen we have head-to-head Config and Esperanto, the 2 standout players at this tournament for their respective teams. Of course, you can potentially throw Yugi in there as well, and some of the other guys on Imperial, like Nuki, but these guys are the ones that we're looking at.
Yeah, and the reason why is because these are 2 riflers who are going to be doing a lot of the entry work throughout this series. Obviously, Config paired up with Snappy, the main entry duo for that team. Esperanto, one of the main driving forces for his team. Also, he adds a little bit of versatility. Actually, both of them do. Both of them can be secondary AWP players. It's usually Cajun, but sometimes Config will do it. If we wind up getting into Inferno, he definitely does it on the B-bomb side, on CT side. So both of these guys are quite versatile talents, good on pistol rounds as well. I think we've seen that throughout the tournament. So these are the 2 players that you're going to be looking to perform, especially Esperanto. I think the weight is really on his shoulders because while he's performed so well throughout this tournament, now you're going up against the big dogs. Like, can you go tit for tat with some of the greatest talents in Counter-Strike? Can you rise to that occasion? That's a whole new level of play he's going to have to find.
Wow. Our live GG bet odds put Imperial as favorites, and for me personally, that comes as a surprise.
I mean, if you had some spare money right now, say, put him in your savings account, I know where I would put him.
Okay, well, no, we do have clarification. Those odds are incorrect. We'll get those. There we go. That makes a bit more sense. Flip those over, and OpTic are at 1.4, Imperial are at 2.9.
Well, let me echo myself. If I had some spare money right now, I wouldn't necessarily say Imperial are this big
good
underdogs.
Value on Imperial, right?
There's good value on Imperial, and I think they've showed us time and time again this tournament that they're a force to be reckoned with. So I wouldn't necessarily say OpTic are this big favorites, but then again, you have to look at the names, you have to look at the paper, and you have to look at the surroundings as well. Playing it in OpTic is something different than playing in Imperial. There's just so much pointing in the way of OpTic. But then again, you look at the results, you look at the way Imperial played throughout the tournament, you can't count them out at any moment.
Definitely not. And I've been very impressed by the gentleman on screen right now. We know he was trained up in the North Academy, but his road to the final here has been, I think, solid. And there have been moments where he's really had to step up to work and secure rounds for his team.
Yeah, he's a great role player, and he's a guy, as you said, he's currently also in a building phase. He would be a guy that could fit in well on Imperial right now. I think they have the similar skill set. I think he's in the similar evolution right now in terms of where he's in his career. But Gate is just a player that is seemingly learning fast, and that's great, you know. And he's playing alongside Snappy. He's playing alongside KGB. There's no better player in Denmark you can play alongside if you want to learn to play Counter-Strike and if you want to involve fast. So he's doing a great job right now, and I think he's happy being where he is.
It's a bit of mixture.
Dust, we do have to move forward, but we can start off with your prediction, because that's what we need to get into.
Yeah, I'll tie it in all together. So, like, Gade's a guy who sometimes has to play, like, crappy spots no one wants to play, like outside be an overpass, no one wants to do that, but he can also at times be used as entry fragger, and I think he's going to be good for that in this map in particular. Also a good B-hold player. So I actually think we should just do it map by map because we get to come in between. So I'll just go ahead and say I take OpTic to definitely take Overpass.
Okay, I am going to go with Imperial. I think OpTic are the favorites here and the stronger team, but based on the momentum and maybe the extra hunger that Imperial have to prove themselves at this level that they could take it. So I'll go with them. And now, Jacob, it's time for the final 3 reasons brought to you by Hacks.
I got you 3 reasons for why I think OpTic is ready to win this final, why they're ready to take the first title. First of all, and first reason is the exact same sentiment. OpTic is ready to win. This is a team that was built up from the ground of, first there was 2 Danish guys in terms of config, or 3 Danish guys, config, gate, and Snappy. Then they brought in Snappy and Yugi from Heroic, 2 very high capable players to perform on this team. So now they have a dedicated in-game leader, they have a dedicated MVP player, they have Cajun being this solid rifler, they have Gate being the support player, and they have config being the entry frag monster. This is a team that is built to win. This is a team that is built to be at tournaments like these right now to win them, and I think that's why they're ready for it, and I think they have what it takes. Second reason why that is, that's config. Config and Yugi in particular. Config in the game in the semi-final against North, he had 26 entry frags. I don't think I've ever seen anyone have that many entry frags in one single series. I know they played 3 maps, I know they were close, I know they got 2 overtimes as well, but nobody has ever done 26 entry frags in such a short series. I don't believe that anyway. Config is a monster, and so is Yugi. We saw some of the AVP capabilities, yes, and if anyone needs to go up against Esperanto in the form he's in right now, it has to be Yugi. So those 2 are fired up and those 2 are ready. The third reason is a little bit cheeky. 5 Danes is better than 1. There's 1 Dane on Imperial, that's Tensky, and there's 5 Danes on OpTic. What I mean by that is not necessarily that I'm patronizing, you know, Danes are better than the rest of the world. We already know that. But the thing is communication right here. Communicating 5 Danish guys together in high pressure situations in a final is way easier than communicating in English. Take it from somebody who knows it. When I was in Team Liquid and I had to communicate with the English guys in Liquid or with the Americans in Liquid in English, I sometimes stuttered. I sometimes stopped up and had to think about what do I need to say, what do I need to do. And Counter-Strike, it's such a high-paced game. You can't stop up, you can't overthink anything. You just have to do everything by feeling. You have to do everything straight. And if you have 5 guys communicating with each other in the same language, it's going to be a little bit easier in the high-pressure situations than the 4 different nationalities on Imperial. So I think that's why OpTic is going to have the edge in this one.
Thank you, Jacob. So, communication, config, and Yugi, and a bunch of other things to think of as well. Now, the match is pretty much ready to go, and let's get our casters involved, because of course we need their talents to help us here. It's the cross-Atlantic duo, Count Hugo and Connor Scrawny Gerben.
Thank you so much, Paula. Thank you, gentlemen, for the breakdown. I'm excited for this one, I have to say, Hugo. It has been one hell of a tournament. I thought maybe we'd have North instead of OpTic, the barn burner of a series to begin today. But at least we've got, obviously, some Danes in the final. The Strudel on the desk mentioned it. 5 could be better than 1. We're going to have to find out if his words are as strong as his opinions.
Well, I just think the big thing coming into this was the upset in the groups, right? Imperial going forward in first place kind of threw a spanner in the works in terms of not having that proposed North OpTic grand final, which a lot of people were expecting here. But I'd say this is definitely a great one as well, because Imperial have not only surprised but also impressed me throughout the entirety of this event so far. I'm really excited to see if they can bring the heat here in the grand final and manage to take down a team that we have been waiting to reach their peak. And OpTic, I mean, they're climbing, Connor. We've seen this team be a little bit up and down since their formation with 5 Danes, but I think this is finally where they're going to start to kick off and show us what they can really do.
I mean, the beauty of Imperial being in this grand finals is that when we first saw this lineup, for the most part, kind of emerge on an international level was when they defeated North in an upset at the grand finals of Copenhagen Games, right?
Yeah.
Now, all of a sudden, here we are a few months later at another level of play, right? Another stage that is definitely bigger, and now they face again an upset versus a fully Danish lineup in the finals, a team that just beat North earlier this morning. So this is a very, common trend, it seems, for Imperial, and I remember being at Copenhagen Games writing them off every step of the way. We kept mentioning, oh, they'll be happy to accomplish this, but they must end here. And sure enough, they took it all the way. So, as much as maybe spirit and dedication might not be as important as headshots and skill or experience in that matter, it's still something to take into consideration, and I'm so happy this one's going live.
And straight into the pistol round as well. These two teams have been so good at pistol rounds throughout the entirety of this event. If you look at the stats that just popped up on screen, it's been 6 wins and 2 losses on pistols for Imperial, 7 wins and 3 losses for OpTic. So both these teams very prepared coming into the first map of this grand final. And straight into it, OpTic with a bit of aggression. Snappy is taking control down towards water, and he has Yugi covering his back as well up through the connector door, but Imperial want nothing to do with the B side of the map. It's Fountain where they work their way up towards slowly but surely, and OpTic still with a AAA setup intact. So they've given up Monster, which is a bit of a risk, but Snappy is luckily locking it down from his position. So I like this setup from OpTic, if anything.
Very kerneled in a defense for OpTic. Still, even though we are at the minute mark, config practicing tracking. I mean, you're making the most of your time.
Yeah.
Right? But with the utility that is still here for Tensky and Crystal, we will see the full-blown execution once they decide to go inwards, and that's what this is going to come down to, right? OpTic at this point, if they haven't made any kind of a play, they are just going to be playing in response to an execution. So it is Imperial's play to make. Ooh, that's not the way you want to start it, though. Instantly gushed up. Cajun B has to retreat, and they could go for a boost here, but there's a lot of movement within the bomb site and still no commitment. Esperanto will most certainly clear the corner, but Cajun B denies him. Somehow he's still standing. Config back up into the corner now, but 3-4 CTs go down in what seems like an instant.
Yeah, smoke's not even needed there. OpTic was so committed to the site, but couldn't even win their fights. It is just a lone B rotation now in the form of Yugi coming back into this round. And at this point, surely it's undoable. A 1v4, there is a kit down on the site somewhere, but Imperial aren't facing, playing very, very reserved in this post plant, waiting for contact to be made, and there it is. Everyone peeks in. And that will be the round for Imperial. Nice and clean, 4 players alive, no hassle. I
mean, I think that's evidence of you know, what is the weaker side of OpTic's setup. It's the fact that if Imperial are able to get all that real estate for free, they can just so quickly, on a dime, turn into the execution. They're all there, ready to trade frag. They've got all the information and map control in the world. So it was definitely relying on OpTic hitting some shots. And, well, Cajun instantly gushed. That certainly didn't help. We had that weird little movement from OpTic within the bomb site, but regardless, they will still buy up into this one. OpTic trying to use those pistols and single scout to some avail. Of course, we watched Nuki get tagged early on. And in comparison to last round, these are very forward positions from OpTic.
We see Cajun on the scout a lot on these second rounds. While you typically expect the AWPing player, Yugi, to pull this one up, it's actually Cajun far more consistently. Yugi does like to save money, though, for that AWP, so that could be a factor, but Cajun at least done a good job of starting things off with some damage, but his teammates lost in the process. More tag coming through. Crystal's down to 30 as well, joining Nuki in that rank, so it's not like Cajun's not doing anything here, but we've got to have someone capitalize and finish off this early damage done. Imperial looking towards this A site eventually, but Yugi's going to be falling as well. And OpTic 1 by 1 are getting torn to pieces. Damage spread thinly across the entire roster of Imperial. But we need a little bit more onto just one map.
That's the thing. Imperial have been doing a good job of replacing the front man. Nuki tag first, Crystal second, Esperanto next as he just duels versus the Deagle, but now it's Config over the smoke. Still now with 30 seconds, they've decided to fall back, maybe falling for what would be the B fake. The utility coming in onto the A site now has Config double guessing himself. Sure enough, that is where Imperial moved this bomb. Any connector presence has been transitioned into the bathrooms push, and by the time that Imperial get here, Hugo, it's completely free for the taking.
Awkward misread from OpTic, but on the plus side there, it's very unlikely they would have won that 3v5 on the bomb site. So actually to hold on to these guns, even a bit of armor and a scout and a pistol, that just means they get to drag it forward in the next round and have another go. Because this round did look pretty unrealistic. Connor, I think one talking point as well that definitely needs to be brought up is the fact that OpTic actually picked this map in this best of 3. Now, when it comes to Overpass, we have only seen this 5-man core play Overpass once, and that was just a couple of weeks ago in the Cologne NA qualifiers where they got bodied by Renegades, who have been struggling themselves recently. So I think it's a big surprise to see OpTic go for this pick, and I can only assume that something is up their sleeve, some kind of strategy or preparation for OpTic is going to be at least shown in this best of 3, especially in this map. So I do hope to see that, otherwise this could be a very worrying grand final.
It is weird, right? This is where we're going to be beginning on what could be the rockiest of turfs for OpTic, but Alas, let's give them some gun rounds, right? Maybe they'll pull something out of their hat. The little that they did move forward, OpTic opting not to invest anything else. Understandably so. Although, Imperial will play a slower pace yet again. That's the thing, already Imperial, they're definitely giving the respect to OpTic. They're not trying to lose these sorts of rounds. And that's the beauty of it. I think we saw something yesterday between Complexity and Gambit in the sense that the lesser team of Complexity just kept making these crucial errors that ultimately cost them rounds. Despite having good starts on both of the first halves, those errors and rounds just stacked up so quickly. It's a good reminder. Right? You do not give a team that, as Pimp said, stacked with this much talent, any kind of opening. Do not even peek through the door. But in this round in particular, they might have to do that if they do opt to head down towards B. That is, in fact, where OpTic have themselves stacked. Cajun's solo scout walks forward.
And a very dangerous position as well, because he can easily get overwhelmed. No armor, no support, just this scout. Crystal's already on the wrap as well. Cajun actually goes one step ahead, and he's going to flank him as well. Gage dropping a man down on B. Cajun winning his duel up on that A site, and now the bomb is committing down towards lower. So Imperial with a man down, but still not out of this round as they look with 30 seconds left to make their presence known. But the problem is that time, Connor, ticking away from the hands of Imperial. Another entry coming through will make things a little easier, but Config sits in the depths below, and he finds two off the back of the Deagle, coming in for more, and it's Cajun to steal it away. OpTic win their third round, a full eco.
Yeah, that's never supposed to happen. I mean, the fact that Cajun B is afforded the sneak around up on the A site and then can so confidently rotate downwards. I mean, we saw in just the round previous, OpTic unfortunately rotate out of a bomb site. This time, they just lock it down. And that's one of the issues when you just decide to play such a late amount of time. Imperial, they had no real option to redirect. They couldn't have necessarily felt out the B site one last time before changing their minds. No, they had to move forward, and it most certainly cost them. Now, luckily, they're able to buy off of the back of it, so it's not as though they're pushed back into pistols as if they had lost the second round of the half. But regardless, it's not the way that things should be. 4 versus 4. The party play goes each way. Damage dealt the same. But it's an advantage now for OpTic to try and maintain, although 2 will be slain by Crystal. He's also the bomb carrier, so now that's going to work its way forward, and they should realize A site is open for the taking, but there's a little bit of defense getting itself back into position, only to die pretty quickly. Nexa, we anticipated that movement, and Nuki's ready for that. So, matter of fact, Imperial, they bounce back. It's going to be a reset.
Huge hero effort from the man on your screen right now, Crystal, the captain of the team with 2 big kills on long, stopping those rotations back to the site from OpTic. And that's very awkward as well, because it was looking like an extremely puggy round that OpTic was somehow getting away from. Even though Yugi was the first to fall outside of the fountain, Config won his duel down on B, Snappy locked down the toilets, and still Imperial win it. Fantastic display of individual skill from this team, as we already know them to be. With a 3-1 scoreline, OpTic piecing together what they have in terms of money. It's not a lot. We've got the AWP back in the hands of Yugi, but with only a single rifle to go alongside it. And Crystal, look at this contact play. He's just snuck into the B site. They had no idea. Close position not even needed to be shown because Config wins his battle up from the barrels. And Imperial, that was a solo endeavor. They've got no one to trade that.
Little utility for OpTic to still work in this situation. It is only flashbangs. So regardless of Imperial play it slowly or not, it's not going to be affecting any kind of execution. And they continue to fall back into the hands of Imperial, so it seems. What's Config going to be able to do with only 15 health? I think it's so little. Ooh, rough shot from Esperanto. It's going to give Yugi an opportunity to just retreat if he were to so choose, but he does linger on a little longer. And that's fair enough. He had the support over the shoulder. In fact, there is this hard rotate for OpTic back up into the A site. So Snappy's got a lot of pressure falling onto him, and it's a good thing that he drops the bomb into the dirt now. But they're still going to try to split him, and he is fully flashed. Greatly done in terms of clearing him out, but Graffiti's then the next challenge, and they pass that one as well. It is only Yugi left over. And he's got something going for him. That was a deep shot from Bank, but obviously not wanting to gamble his money.
And despite Esperanto whiffing that shot earlier on to Yugi, still follows up with 2 entry kills down towards the B site. This man has been fantastic this event, and while there were question marks concerning his performance, at least before this LAN, he's managed to drop 20 kills or more every single game he's played, apart from one map where he found 19, but hey, that still will get the job done. The hard carry for Imperial again opening up in a 4-1 lead as OpTic's force goes nowhere. So next round, single eco, OpTic with a bit of money to hold on to, and this AWP can be kept forward as Imperial won't be hunting it down.
We talk about Yugi when it comes to nuke play in terms of being one of those very successful close quarters oppers, and it's for that reason that in this round, if he's going to play that solo weapon, I'd love to see him be thrown down into connector. It's a good way to try and respond to either party or short control, and you're generally guaranteed some kind of a duel with a player towards the ladder. If there's no duel to be found there, well, you've got cover, and you're essentially this bunkered opponent that they have to deal with. So it's going to force fights into Yugi's hands, but he opts not to go into that position. In fact, I believe he's down in short, so still taking an aggressive position regardless. And unfortunately for him, nobody's really there just yet. It's 3 players for Imperial clearing out the A site and falling back into the default we had seen at the beginning of this T side.
Yugi may be lucky he's not in the connector. Nexus holding it down. Imperial playing this one very slowly, trying to feel out exactly what OpTic have, and knowing, of course, that the AWP was saved in the previous round. There's question marks of, did OpTic force around this? And while unlikely, it's always a possibility. Imperial just playing things careful, but now they're going to start to work their way up through A long. OpTic have a pretty heavy setup on this A site, so when Imperial do eventually get towards it, things could start to get dangerous, but you should assume that these AKs won't have too much of a problem dealing with the unequipped and, well, pretty terrible weaponry on OpTic. Luckily enough, though, look at this rotation. Yugi's coming back up from the B site. OpTic have gone for the full 5-man Hail Mary stack. So, Imperial may be walking into a bit of a dangerous spot. How will they get out of it?
That's the thing, is when we see this slower pace from Imperial, it has been the A-site executions, but that is a response back from Yugi. Now they know where the AWP is, but they're playing with time. Remember, they took so much of it, spent it, and just clearing out these portions of the map towards the A-site. They have no footing into B, and this is looking what we saw before, Hugo. It's back into the 2 versus 2. Are OpTic going to do it again? Is Yugi going to drop a 4th kill? Because it only is Esperanto left over. 8 seconds to the clock, and he runs inwards. Missing the no-scope is Yugi, and only with a Glock. Both headshots. He seals the deal in that round.
How the hell did they lose that? I have no idea. OpTic looked like they had him dead to rights, but assumed he wouldn't have time to push up close. Fantastic work from Esperanto, but Connor, you can't look at that round and go, it's a success, for Imperial. They still lost 4 players to a near full eco with only 1 saved weapon that went and got 3 kills.
If there's any benefit to that, it's a stark reminder that now in the 2 rounds you've played incredibly slowly against just pistols for the most part, you've had these very shaky situations, one of which cost you a round.
Yeah.
So stop maybe. Go back into the quicker plays that we sometimes see from Imperial. Try to shake up OpTic a little, because clearly the first element of a potential win is already on the table. Imperial are hitting shots.
That being said, yeah, exactly. While it's getting dangerous, if you look at the scoreline, Imperial can't be worried just yet. It's 5-1. Things are looking good in for this T side right now. Yugi is back on the AWP, had a lot of impact in the previous round, so if he can hit his shots once again, that could be a bit of a threat. Yugi is already tagged up, and Yugi holds outside of the A site as well, looking for that jump spot. Not going to be able to connect, though. And still, Imperial taking their time here, but that's totally fine considering OpTic have weaponry. Utility almost a miss here from the CT side as they've thrown out all of their nades early on. Only smokes remain. Now Imperial already cleared out the connector without too much presence towards B apart from Tensky holding down. They're going to walk up through the toilets, but Snappy, he's been in this position before. They're not going to expect it, but he still gets 1 kill. That's Cajun, in fact, to line up 3. Out of nowhere, OpTic will just suffocate Imperial, and Cajun finds his 4th as well to top it all off.
There's the beautiful stuff that we tend to see from Cajun, right? When we see, OpTic on LAN as of late with the ESL Pro League Dallas Finals and then moving into DreamHack Austin as well, it's really Cajun who's been throwing up these hard multi-frag holds. And then we've got Config who makes the ballsier plays, the more confident risk-taking situations. So now it's starting to piece itself together. Great multi-frag, solid hold, and it comes in a crucial round because look at the result of this. The buy from Imperial. It's coming in deep from the depths of the bargain bin. It'll have some utility back behind it, but a Galil and an AK, that's not nearly enough, although it is an AK in the hands of Esperanto.
Anything's possible. This buy is just because OpTic found 4 kills on that pistol round. The fact that Imperial lost all the money has now come back to bite them, and Esperanto caught out with a flash and a weapon change. Talk about a double wombo combo, he's going to get wrecked. AK can be retrieved though, so it's not a huge worry yet for Imperial, but still OpTic taking the man advantage. Are going to be sitting comfortably down on this B site. With still 3 players here, convinced of the potential play, and there's Crystal getting spotted and sprayed. Gade taking him down as the smoke blooms, and OpTic in a very good spot right now because Imperial are losing all their 1v1 duels and not getting anything for it. Instead, Tensky looks up towards that A bomb site, and there are close positions here for Cajun, but he's still ready for it. Takes down Tensky, and this is just a complete mess for Imperial. A Pug-style round having exactly what kind of effect you would expect.
Good flashbangs on the entry, however, but still it's being so convincingly shut down. Config confidently back towards the grating of Monster. Not finding much footing there. I do like that we're starting to see OpTic play a little more proactive in their setups, right? Yeah. We had the 2 players set up inside of Bathroom previously where Cajun B gets a multi-frag. And then that round we see the flashbangs from Gade peeking up and finding Esperanto. So they're not letting Imperial set up confidently. And think back, that's what OpTic were doing when they're on their eco rounds. They're just letting these Ts get closer and closer to the bomb sites. But that is no longer the trend. And finally we see Imperial with a broken economy, absolutely nothing invested in this. And already 2 players hit the dirt. Oh, excuse me, Hugo. There is a P250.
Oh, there's a bit of money in it. It wasn't Esperanto, but now retrieved off of his body. The double jump fake. Yugi gonna miss a shot, but luckily there's an SMG there to save the day. Yugi, again, can't follow up, but Snappy is luckily here. Only Tensky left alive now, and OpTic, as clean as you would like it, they're the ones at least not having trouble up against pistols, and although it is far less shown from Imperial in terms of investment, it's always nice to see some confident anti-ecos. OpTic getting back into the groove of things after Imperial kicked it off with a 5-1 lead. We are about to be even Stevens, Connor, 1 round away from OpTic pulling this game back.
Yeah, I mean, we saw, a shaky OpTic at moments earlier today in their matchup versus North.
Yeah.
So it's by no stretch of the imagination that hot streak we just saw Imperial come off of by defeating Gambit would at least give them some kind of a start here on Overpass, right? We know their aim is there today. It's going to be a grueling expedition if they do, of course, want this series too. The investments back in for Imperial will not include an AWP, but Yugi still has his. And we've seen him miss a couple of shots up there towards the A site, Hugo, so let's hope for his sake that he can connect them when they matter now. Versus the guns is where his margin of error is that much slimmer.
This is slightly worrying as well because there are 3 players down in the connector, so if this door gets opened, even though Yugi might get a shot and drop off, because there are 3 players, they could easily spam that wooden wall and get a kill onto Gade. Certainly an option here for Imperial once they work it out, but for the time being, they are taking it slow and working back up towards the A site through the connector. And already this boost up from OpTic has fallen back. Snappy is hiding in the edge of the smoke as Cajun B sits on the site. And Imperial, the A site is definitely their objective here. But again, Connor, we've seen them leave it far too late in previous rounds. They can't afford to make the same mistake again because OpTic have already got 3 players up here on the site. And Snappy, he's about to be met with contact. Nex has already found the entry, and things are going to start to fall apart for OpTic.
Oh, good flashbangs again, allowing for these entries. Nexa taking the first 2, but Cajun B from behind the boxes sprays and only finds 1. At this point, it's a 4 versus 2, but the CTs are already so quickly getting into position, and in fact, they'll go for a boost over the dumpster wall. That's something that can catch you off guard, and they're able to get the player standing too. So now it's a matter of waiting for Imperial to step into the crosshairs. And just like that, it happens. Still, they don't really have an opening because the smokes are in their face. But Crystal, well, he's looking to lay down the law. He's looking to wrap around through bank. And the CTs spot this. Time's, again, a bigger issue. And it does seem like they'll save, but for a moment there, Hugo, they had a say in that retake attempt.
Yeah, that looked doable, but I think a right call made from OpTic. They have the money to buy up once again if they save these couple of guns, so not a huge problem here. You can see the catch is still pretty good. Only Snappy lacking. And hey, we could see OpTic go for something crazy here, pull in a double AWP. They are a team that like to frequent that, although, let's see. And now, at the very least, Imperial certainly going to have the option for the AWP as well, because we've not seen Yuki on that ready too much, despite him having a great game so far. Second top of the board for his team. And yeah, there it is. AWP coming through in the hands of Nuki. No double up for OpTic, but no worries just yet.
Still looking for that fast clash. He's not going to find any targets at this point. Now, based on the timing and probably some sound, he should know that there's already some footing over towards long A. And this is where Cajun B was able to clean up a multi-frag previously to win OpTic a round. We'll see if he can do it yet once more. No, tracking a little too slow. And Snappy now has to fall back, but he can't because the heat so quickly pushed onto him. Yugi's still over here towards mid, but again, missing bullets is not going to help. Imperial, they're just going pound for pound into these bomb sites, Hugo, and every time they set their eyes on A, they seem to be successful. Yeah, again, with Yugi not being able to hit any shots here on the CT side, that is certainly not boding well for OpTic. He's a player that we need to step up. If we actually look at the stats for, you know, him, at least so far this event, he's been the best player for OpTic. Third best player in the event, just below Nexa and Esperanto, who are both sitting in first and second respectively, and even Config's also in the top 5. So in terms of Yugi's performance, things need to change here as it's getting a little more out of control for OpTic. Imperial with another buy round under their hand. And again, going back to it, the big worry for me is it's like, this is not a map that OpTic play. So long term, if they start to crumble, if their initial game plan starts to fall through, do they have the depth? Do they have the things to fall back on? Because Imperial certainly do. What amount of resilience are OpTic going to be able to show in what is not a comfort zone? That's the question. How crazy would it be, Hugo, if we watched Esperanto go from DreamHack Tours, his last DreamHack showing, as the lowest rated player at the entire event, to coming here to Jönköping, the heart of Sweden, the heart of Counter-Strike, only then to top it? That would be crazy. That'd be the effect of the Swedish meatballs, Connor. Yeah, 17 years young. But we'll find our first pause of the series. It's going to be OpTic's call, and I don't blame them. It's time to alleviate some stress, take a deep breath, and hope for the best in the next one. Yeah, it's still going to be a buy at the very least. They should be fine money-wise. A couple of players had 5 or 6K to drop over guns, allowing for this full buy with 2 more saved weapons. So for now, it's okay for OpTic, but yeah, we're in a spot where Imperial are at 7 rounds, and if OpTic lose this one, then things are really going to start to look difficult because we can have an 8 rounds before Eco, 9-4 at the very least for this half, and maybe even more with that. So Yugi back on the AWP, and he needs to open up here, but Snappy this time is going to be joining him once again to try and bail him out. Yugi posted, there he goes, starting to kick things off. Crystal trades right back onto Snappy, who runs through the smoke, but Yugi has at least made it a 4-on-4. What's really nice about the difference in that round from OpTic is that that's the first time Yugi's positioning has actually given him eyes on the playground to long cross. Yeah. And think about how many times we've seen Imperial play long A. So normally they just get past him, he tries to fall back, it fell onto Cajun B up here in the top of bathrooms, but not this time around. With Snappy establishing control over towards the fountain, Yugi was positioned in a bit of a better spot, and while of course he does pick up 1, they do still offer long control away to the hands of Crystal. It's nice to see a bit more, you know, dynamic setup for OpTic in the sense that, like, we've seen Snappy play the same toilet position twice, and while the first time it worked out, he caught out the player. The second time he gets pre-fired, he goes down. So OpTic need to stay versatile. They need to stay unpredictable. I mean, we literally just questioned the depths of their playbook, and that's a nice little difference. But Nuki's going to make the difference in this round as he starts to topple the B site defense. Still, there is a man inside the smoke. It's Config, denied by Tensky. And now, I mean, this is the bomb site in the hands of Imperial yet again. They've swapped down to the B site, which I believe is the first time we've seen them successful down there. When we have Imperial winning rounds, it was A over and over. Still a 3 versus 2, so this one's not done quite yet, but again, OpTic have decided to forfeit the round. Yeah, no kits in play. It's a significant amount of saves we've had. What's a significant amount of man advantages we've had? We've not had like OpTic saving in 3-on-3s or 4-on-4s. They've been saving on 2-on-3s or 2-on-4s. You know, they've always had this disadvantage. Not only do they consistently lose players on one side of the map, but then they go and lose both players down on the other site without even getting any kills on the defense, right? It's not like OpTic have a player going and getting 2 frags and then they lose a site and it's, you know, even Stevens to go for that retake. It seems like OpTic already are fighting with their backs against the wall, but only due to good play from Imperial, of course. A strong half so far, 8-4 up. And OpTic's money, well, we hear buys, so maybe they're shuffling over something here, but in terms of having the full cash,
only just. Lost bonus kicked in now, so we do have an AWP still saved, of course, and rifles around it. But at this point, it doesn't matter what OpTic have to play with, because they're still not getting the rounds.
Oh, exactly, and we're at the 13th, so rounds what they need. Economy not going to be the biggest issue soon enough. Take note, Cade, the only holder of a kit at this moment, and it is positioned here inside the B site.
And a heavy setup here as well for OpTic, 3 players. We've seen a lot of AAA setups, but they have been late round, especially after Yugi's already been forced back from the toilets. Next, they're looking to make a bit of a burst play down on B. With the help of the flashbang, he goes round the corner, but Config is ready and waiting on the other end. Gets 2 as well. The Molotov as Tensky runs to his death, and Config's hungry. He's not satisfied with a couple, but the issue is Imperial have dragged 2 back. Fantastic trade work here from this T side, and Snappy is going to need to bail OpTic out of this position, because right now, they are fighting a very difficult battle.
But Imperial may suspect that this is still open for the taking, and oh, would they be wrong. Regardless of what would have been a costly assumption, they will still get another kill and the bomb plant on top of that. So as the smoke grenades will fade, Cajun B tries to find a bit of an off angle, and he spots the shoulder as Yugi simultaneously picks up Esperanto. Nuki again tagged to 31, now finds himself as the last man standing, and he's going to wrap all the way through Monster. He's lost his teammates, he's lost the control of the site. But it's going to take something special. Nuki actually goes for the AK, and that was a decision because so quickly they are picked up. Despite not having the kit on Yugi, he will still find the defuse, and a 5th round for OpTic at least.
And this is exactly what happens when OpTic actually try these retakes, right? We already talked about how we see them in these 2v3s all the time once the bomb's down, and that's due to Snappy pushing up before the bomb even got planted. A very dangerous decision he made there, and he got punished. So OpTic actually attempting a retake for once, and look how well it works out. Wonderfully. They don't even lose a man as soon as the bomb goes down, so maybe something that OpTic need to convince themselves of a little more, just need to get into the groove, build up some confidence, and that round has certainly done that. 5 up here on the CT side. Imperial still holding a heavy lead, considering they are on the terrorist half themselves. Cajun back to the toilets here. Yugi up on the A site with the AWP. And Imperial, a slow connector creep for the time being. They've done this before. It's just to try and take A short control, though maybe with a flash going down through that window, they could be convinced of B. But with the other 2 players at least positioned outside of the fountain, it's looking to be default for Imperial.
I love that Nexa checks on top of the light fixture.
Yeah.
It's a position you can run boost onto. I've never actually seen it successfully used, but hell, he's got the presence of mind.
1 step ahead.
Oh, Yugi, though, he comes back in to the equation with a shot into Esperanto. That's twice now he's dropped him in back-to-back rounds. But Yugi's not going to be convinced to fall off. They're going to try and confidently hold the line. There is no rotate yet from the B-site defenders, although there is a 3rd player in the depths of the site. And therefore, they may not assume that there are still players here, up close in their face. Yugi and Snappy both. And look at this hold come to fruition. Tensky with 3 HP is all that's left over, and 30 seconds means he has way too much to do. There you have it. Frag grenade is icing on the cake, and OpTic still can make this close as could be. 1 round left here for their CT side.
And this is exactly what we needed. Yugi stepping up, getting 4 kills, and dragging OpTic through a round. Not only is he arguably one of the best players here for the team, but also, you know, the best player rated for this team in this event. So it's important that we see Yugi, especially on the CT side of Overpass, have a big game with the AWP. Nice shots coming through from him. And if that can continue now that he seems a little bit warmed up, things are looking up for OpTic, but Imperial chucky in a pause just to take a breather.
Yeah, I mean, why not, right? Try to establish that 9-6 half. It's funny, right? Yugi, a player who we've seen so far this map, missed those what would be easy kills towards Party and the entrance of mid. But yet, when you all of a sudden try and contest him up close, that's when he starts to shine. I love watching Yugi in close quarter situations. I mean, it happens more often than not on Nuke, because when the T side comes around, he's constantly inside of lobby. But hell, if he's going to give us a show here, Hugo, I'll buy a ticket.
Yeah, he's my favorite solo B site Inferno player on the CT side. He's so much fun to watch when he has that AWP, and he's just left as a solo mountain to climb. And there we go, he starts it off again here for OpTic, a man advantage taken, although not to the other AWPer. There isn't an AWP here for Imperial. Nuki down on an AK, and Imperial down towards that B site. It seems like we haven't really seen many fakes thrown in, or any for that matter, from Imperial. Wherever they set up their early presence, it seems to be the late round decision. Sometimes very, very late round. However, this time they want to make it a little bit more proactive. Down towards B, they set their sights on Monster, where 2 players sit for OpTic. So Gade making contact, and then the man up on the barrels as well. The first is dropped, and Gade can only find one. Tensky tagged down below, and Snappy can finish off the job as well. So OpTic now with a man advantage, traded back by Esperanto, and the rotates are in.
Yeah, Yugi being in transition there, that's going to be the reason that there was no cover for Snappy. So he is caught off guard, but still leading us to the 2 versus 2. Last time we saw a similar situation, Yugi kicked it off with a kill from Graffiti, but now no one's going to face him. Remember, he actually killed this player here, Esperanto, who now hides inside the cubby instead. But the flash still blinding. Chances still trickling in as he gets himself the one above. It's now on Yugi, and he will cut it down into the clutch. A Molotov for Nexa could seal the deal because there is no smoke for Yugi to play with, and he's just going to try to stick this. This is going to come down to the wire. No, a little too late on bomb. He seals it off, and a 9-6 half presents itself.
And the worst part about that retake was both players actually had a smoke for OpTic there. I was watching that Molotov on Nexa getting convincingly worried, but Yugi threw his smoke out towards Nexa to cover him off, and then the other player coming in from heaven, I think it was Config, actually died with his smoke. So yeah, Nexa just holding on to that Molotov later in the round, wins them it without even a fight needed to be taken. Great work from Imperial to find 9 rounds on the T side of OpTic's map pick, and already kicking things off to a strong start here. This could definitely be a bit of an upset here, Connor.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely got OpTic sweating. I think that their T side may be a little more elaborate than that of Imperial's.
Yeah.
So, you know, I feel like there was definitely a phase at the beginning of that game where OpTic were just trying to feel out Imperial. You know, they were letting Imperial play their game, attempting to play responsively as opposed to proactively themselves. And then towards the end, once they were adding a couple rounds, we saw a little more ambitious plays. We saw them sticking into bathrooms a little longer. Some pre-rotations, which very nearly worked out as well. So there was definitely something to praise there for OpTic in certain rounds, but Imperial just started it off so strong, so quickly, that it did kind of get ahead of them.
I'm still just getting flashbacks to the only other time I've seen OpTic play this map where I casted it, and they got 2 rounds on their T side up against Renegade. So let's just hope they made some improvements, but at least for now, it's not completely worrying. They would like to take this pistol considering Imperial got theirs, and that would make things pretty equal going into this second half. So a good bit of utility, some P250s and a Glock rush up through the connector. It's Nuki going to be pressured here, but he's so good with a USP. We've already seen him ace before in this exact event on this gun. Config's dead, and Cajun B's close. Nuki going to go back in for more, and there's the bomb dropped. Imperial, they're taking this round by storm, or at least Nuki is. 3rd shot, no problem for Nuki. And it's only the utility players left up for OpTic, but not for long, because Nuki's hunting for a 4th.
I mean, at this point, he has no reason to fall back. He's just going to try to keep pummeling these players downwards. It is Tensky to get Yugi over the shoulder, and Nuki will seal the deal. So 4 frags for him in the pistol. That's a fantastic showing from him. So confident as well, right? Never convinced to fall off of the position. He went forward towards Fountain, took a very quick duel, but then didn't commit to it in order to establish himself there on the stairs. And that's where he ultimately held the line. That one was just a thing of beauty.
He's so good with pistols. And OpTic, well, they've got to be better with pistols here because they've got 5 of them. Imperial well equipped for the round at the very least. They've got 2 rifles, and Yuki starts to try and look for a pick with his Deagle. Christian gets tagged down in response to Snappy. He's going to follow up with a kill. Although Cajun burns into his death in the Molotov, there's still a 4v4 here with lots of damage taken from this man. Crystal moving back in on long, and the timing may just get the better of him, but no, he gets around the corner. Snappy's on the boost, and he could easily walk and completely topple this, but Snappy's ready for it. OpTic, another man advantage taken. I'd say a very risky push for Crystal, probably not justified without the help of any utility from his teammate. And now Tensky's going to go on an exhibition because they've already realized that OpTic are taking this round by storm, and it's not stopping, Connor. Bad weather for Imperial, 4v2, and guns are being picked up for OpTic.
2 umps and an M4. You said, guns being picked up. Oh my god. Right between the eyes of Config. Esperanto pops him. Nexa will get into position as well, but that's both CTs spotted. The bomb dropped, and Nexa just fully reveals himself. Throws his body into the open, and hell, OpTic will take that with open arms. You know, it's funny, Hugo. We go back to that upset in Copenhagen Games when Imperial bested North. North chose Overpass versus Imperial. And it was the 2nd map of the series where Imperial finished the match, but this is where we begin here. This is OpTic instead. Imperial turning into a bit of a Dane Slayer.
Yeah, Tensky looking for a bit of vengeance. Pimp on the desk said 5 Danes are better than 1, but right now it seems like his maths is off. Imperial forced up here on the CT side. I mean, if we look back to OpTic's first half, just remember that 3rd round where they were able to pick up a full eco and then very nearly do it on just a couple of rounds later as well. So OpTic very, very scary on these force and eco rounds, but Imperial so far haven't made the same waves. So this should be an opportunity for OpTic to get their heads back into the game for now. If Esperanto allows it with the Deagle, looking for this shot up on short, and he finally connects it, and the follow-up. Took his time, but he's back with 2 kills and back turned towards the top of party because he's got his teammates there for support and the bomb dropped under his feet.
Nearly getting himself another one. Agent weathers the storm. Nice little wraparound as well, but he knows there's more players here and he gets caught swapping guns. And not only that, Hugo, but he literally just pulled the bomb into the hands of Imperial. This could be the pistol round upset for Imperial. These are the kinds of vital mistakes you cannot afford if you're OpTic, not at a score like this. Although, things will slow down. They still could realistically reel this back in. Because they've taken out Crystal, they've cleared the washrooms, but now you've got to go down into the Batcave. It starts with Nexa and Nuki. They will trade, exchange, and the spray. Not good from Nagade, not yet. Grenade pulled out, he applies the pressure, 15 seconds left, so he needs to give chase, and he's denied by Nexa. It is Imperial with the upset, thanks to Esperanto.
That's got to hurt for OpTic. They lose the pistol, but not only that, they follow up with a force buy. It's everything going in the way of OpTic to try and pull this half back, and then straight back in their face. Esperanto with a double deeg, and Imperial with the round. Head in his hands. Not looking too happy about that one. Gade. Going to be an upsetting moment, and Imperial calling in a pause as well, making sure that they don't lose to force buying again, because in this situation, if you're OpTic, it's very common to just see a buy up, especially from this team. Want to keep that force buy wars going, because again, an eco here would give Imperial 12 rounds, and then OpTic would have to buy up after that. So more likely than not going to see pistols and armor here for the Danish side, but even then, Imperial are looking very, very strong in the second half. These are the buys I like, though.
Yeah, single AKs. I mean, this is the thing, right, is we praise Cajun B for being that kind of solid rock to lock down certain portions of the map. If there's anything Config does well, it's risky, explosive plays. Yeah. So we'll see if, seeing as he is the only man equipped, he can, no.
Talking of risky and explosive, Imperial just dive up into the fountain. Look at Nuki's aggression. He's already in the T-spawn, and Gate has no idea. 2 kills from Nuki, shot through the smoke will only tag him up. And it's Imperial just muscling their way through this round, not going and sitting back and saying, okay, OpTic, you can play your game, we'll let you see what you can do with this pistol buy. No, they just get in their face and take kills. Yeah,
quite literally the inverse as to what OpTic were doing versus Imperial. Testing as quick as can be. Intensity. Has to be careful, you don't want to take a deagle shot to the mouth. Take note that Imperial also have so many of their players tagged up already. This is one of those sketchy situations where you'd love to just write off OpTic, but these are very skilled players, and deagles are deadly. They'll have 2 smokes and double flashbangs for the execution in. Smoke off Graffiti and Heaven and just fixate, maybe trying to clear pit and planting bomb. That's where the first smoke goes down, but Esperanto uses the Q to jump downwards and join his teammate. Remember, Tensky's here to support as well towards Graffiti. So there's certainly a line to get past here for OpTic, and they start off with more damage. Cajun B hasn't caught a kill just yet, but Yugi will deny Esperanto. Now, do they expect Nexa to come into the same position? Probably not. Still Cajun deals with this threat, but 10 seconds left, that's not nearly enough. At any point, they can swarm him. It would take one hell of a clutch, and it's just never gonna happen.
The crazy thing about that setup is Tensky literally had the cross. Esperanto and Nexa didn't need to peek with that setup, but they still went aggressive and still forced kills. It just shows the confidence on Imperial right now. Absolutely no fear of OpTic despite being the underdogs, and that's exactly what you need to have. No respect CS. Imperial taking another round for themselves, and a 13th is surely on the horizon with OpTic down on just 2 P250s. Not a nade in sight, as Imperial want to incite a bit of violence themselves. Again, up towards the fountain, they begin to push up. Nade's taking some damage, but No real kills found, so Imperial reposition. OpTic running their way up long, and Nuki's going to be pressured here, but he steps up under pressure with all 4 kills. No problem for Nuki. Again, Imperial finding a clean round.
It's under pressure that diamonds are made, and that right there is a fantastic play. Nuki just locking it down. Almost makes it look too easy, as it should be, right? We talked about those anti-ecos, and this time it's just nothing. So, a technicality more than anything else that round. We'll go back into guns here in the 21st. Got 3 AKs for Imperial, or rifles rather, excuse me. Lackluster utility for OpTic to play off of, so they might just try and prioritize duels. But that's what Imperial have been doing. And you're not going to find any real estate for free. You're going to have to find these gunfights. You're going to have to work tooth and nail.
And no AWP on Yugi's T side as well is always a problem. Especially when he started to warm up on that latter stage of the CT side. OpTic looking down at this B site already. Yugi is left alone up on the fountain. Trying to sell a bit of a fake, but Imperial aren't even too aggressive on A, so it's not like they're going to work out quickly that this is a B play. Because the only aggressive player is Crystal, and he's still sat towards the latter stage of the toilets. Imperial actually, because of this passive setup, are actually going to pre-rotate a man towards that A site. But it's a completely wrong call to make, because Nexus already spotted the push down on B. Luckily, he does get 1 kill, and he's so low. Surely he shouldn't get more than that, and that's exactly the case. Gage trading back, Esperanto keeping things in check, and it's Tensky's aggression up on short that will keep this round in the hands of Imperial.
I mean, even despite being caught off guard, you could see those players wanting to leave the situation. They still then just rail the headshots together. Good job on Esperanto falling back into the gunfight, creating the distraction, allowing for Tensky to win his first duel, but he's then popped back by Yugi. Oh my goodness, damage goes each way. Both these players nearly winning out the round. That initial duel, 10 seconds left, so he's just gonna have to burst his way into the bomb site. And it's close. 5 shots left in the mag as well. This is gonna be one hell of a play from him, but it's just never gonna happen, so he's gone. He tucks tail Hugo, and that therefore is a 14th for Imperial. Double the score of OpTic on OpTic's map choice.
Yeah, this is where the the OpTic players start to question their map pick.
This is where the boys become the men.
Yeah.
We talk about the young age of Imperial, the unproven talent that's there. I mean, that's what Pimp was alluding to, right? Think of the world-class players that are on OpTic. The accomplishments, the achievements, the years of experience. 17, by the way.
Dear oh dear, this is falling apart for OpTic. A single rifle is left up. The last time they had that, it showed nothing. And again, Yugi is instantly dead, so it's not going to work out. Esperanto is just on deathmatch right now. 3 kills coming in. He makes it look easy, Connor. He makes me want to play this game again. But then I realize I'm nowhere near as good.
I mean, the question always boiled down is, can he keep up that consistency and confidence versus better and better players? Well, this is going to be his biggest challenge yet, you'd think. And like you said, just making it look so smooth on his aggressive stance, but he's now going to have to seal the deal, and it's versus what is a heavily tagged OpTic. Both Config and Snappy very low, on the brink of death. And not to mention, Nuki's by his side. Esperanto will overextend, but still this could lead into the second player revealing himself by surprise, and sure enough, there it is. Nuki gets it, but where's the bomb? Snappy's taking it elsewhere.
Psych. And yeah, these aggressive plays down on B for Esperanto, very risky there. I mean, it works out, but OpTic just haven't been punishing it. That's one round where they do, but even then they don't expect the second player to push up, so he's just been given so much room to go for these crazy ballsy pushes, and now Imperial, they're going to soon start to realize this is an A play. Crystal is already making sure that Snappy's not getting aggressive on this backline. As soon as he hears these footsteps or the bomb plant, which has to come through considering there's 10 seconds left, they can double rotate and set up for the retake. Snappy realizes time is his biggest issue. Can't fake the plant here, has to commit, but Crystal's out. Crystal's on the hunt, and Crystal is going to make it work. 15 rounds for Imperial, and OpTic, not even a foot in the door.
Nope, nothing at all. 8 map points now. I mean, hell, we watched OpTic have a comeback happen against them, nearly. after establishing a 13-2 lead on Train earlier today. Now it's their turn to attempt Hugo, and attempt is what they'll do, because we haven't really seen much from this T side. You brought it up yourself, right? Versus Renegades, one of the only times we ever saw this OpTic team play on Overpass. It was 2 rounds they had on the entire T side, correct? Yeah. So they're halfway there already, and it's going to have to be one hell of a performance if they want even a respectful scoreline. 16-7 is what we're looking at if Imperial end it now.
And I can't say that this map is looking anything but over now. OpTic have yet to show us anything on this T side. A single eco win in that second round is all they've had. The AWP in the hands of Esperanto now. He's told Nuki that, no, this is mine. I don't blame him.
We saw his AWP play on Mirage earlier in the tournament. That was quite impressive.
He's such a good second AWPer.
Yeah, he has an incredible versatility to his playbook.
Oh, Tensky. He's already mowed one down through the smoke. If things couldn't get worse for OpTic, they certainly have now. No utility really left. 2 smokes, 2 flashbangs, and only 4 players on this roster. As Gade's been removed, OpTic got to take control back of long, and they look towards this A site, where luckily enough for now, it's not heavily set up with only 1 player. I think that's Esperanto looking to rotate down. No, he's moved just back up towards the dumpster. So OpTic, they're looking to dumpster this round. 4 players running their way up long. Crystal already in with a rotation. Imperial are going to be so well set up on this bomb site. And even if they miss their shots, there's 2 more players to rotate back up. OpTic here looking to try and bring this game back.
Yeah, there you go. It's now spotted out, and Nuki had just pushed forward, plus no Bastions contest at all. This is just getting shut down so convincingly. 16-7, can you believe your eyes? Hugo Byron, this makes things interesting. If you already had some doubt for Imperial, I feel like you have to wash it away. These guys have come not only to show what they've got, but they have come to win.
Yeah, and win they will on OpTic's map pick. What a sick first performance for them. Now moving forward to a map that has just been the staple of Imperial's playbook since this roster was even formed with a 3-man core. Mirage. I think it's very hard to bet against Imperial after such a strong map, but that's a real shame to see OpTic go down without too much of a fight.
I mean, we talk about Esperanto's individual performance and impact on a map like Mirage, right? That's kind of where he's set up to shine. And for him to already be hitting some very impactful moments here on Overpass just makes me scared for OpTic. Yeah. But we'll see if Pimp is as confident now that map 1 comes to a close. Paula, let's hear what he's got.
Thank you, Connor Gerbini and Hugo Byron. That is a fantastic result on all levels for Imperial on that first map. Gambit's pick, and they just absolutely run away with it.
Yeah, it's super impressive. They keep impressing all of us, I would say. It's one of those cases where when you face a team that is hitting so many shots, like Nuki is doing, like Esperanto is doing, like basically all of the guys are doing right now, no matter what you do, you're just getting shut down. And we talked about it in the beginning, you know, this OpTic lineup is a team that is built to win tournaments like these. It's a team that is built by very expensive players as well. But right now it's the Esperanto and the Nukis and the Nexus that is showing that they're the better players. They're the better skill-wise right now. So they're just getting outmatched, you know. There's not much more to say to this one. It's highly impressive.
I think it just all came down to the early portions of each half, right? I mean, you have, you know, Imperial being able to go up 5-1 in the first half on their T side based on being able to hard reset OpTic very early on and keep their economy in check throughout the half. They also were always seemingly winning opening duels, whether it was Esperanto, whether it was Nuki's Op, whether it was even Nexus sometimes coming out in front. Always seemed to have early advantages throughout the entire half. And while OpTic fought their way back in the first half to keep it close, when you go into the second half, they just had nothing on their T side. I mean, again, it was Esperanto. That big Deagle round, I think, was kind of like the catalyst for all of it, where it's just like the point of no return for OpTic when Esperanto pulled that off to reset them in the second round of the second half. And the numbers really speak for themselves at this point.
Yeah, that was quite a crucial moment in that second half when Imperial got the pistol, OpTic broke them back, but then Imperial came back on the round following and the economy was shattered. Taking a look at that scoreboard, Gade and Snappy having a rough time, and Nuki and Esperanto really running the show. What could OpTic Gaming could have done better?
I mean, the big worry for OpTic right here is the fact that Config is not up firing on all cylinders right now. They need him to step up. He has, I think it was 54 ADR in this game. That's just not enough from a guy like Config. He needs to be up there. Yuki had a rough start to the game. It was actually Config playing well in the beginning and Yuki not showing up. Then it turned around all of a sudden where it was Yuki playing well, but Config didn't show up. They need both of those guys to turn up big time now. Cajun were having a decent game. Gate is doing his job. You know, Snappy is doing his job. That's all right. But we need the 2 star players of OpTic to step up. Otherwise, I'm afraid Imperial is just going to run away with this. The level they're showcasing right now, the individual skill, Esperanto, Nukia, Nexa for that matter, even Tenskid surrounds, it's just impeccable. It's never seen before from these guys. So if they keep up this this good streak running, then I'm afraid that OpTic is going to have a hard time on Mirage as well.
Dust and Pimp up next. It's Mirage, and that map is Imperial's pick, and they absolutely destroyed a go earlier in the tournament on it, and they also beat Gambit on it during their best of 3. Time in the past, probably leaning towards them taking it, but who knows, maybe OpTic can bounce back. For now, let's go to a short break, but firstly, let me tell you all at home to go and check out the Strafe esports app. On there, you can find a wide range of news, details, and stats. After the break, we'll be back with the second map, and can Imperial beat all of the odds which have been stacked against them from the start, do it in 2-0 and take the championship, or will OpTic bounce back? Let's find out soon.
Place your bets